I pulled off the road for gas. The pump shut off early. Then I looked up, and realized I was being watched. Name's Reggie Cole. 47 years old. I've been driving trucks across the lower 48 since I got out of the Army in '01. You learn the rhythms of the road out here, when to stop, what places feel safe, which small towns you don't linger in after sundown. But sometimes, even after all those miles, the road still surprises you. And not in a good way. This happened last year, mid-October. I was hauling a partial load of HVAC units out of Dallas, headed toward Jackson, Mississippi. Left late in the day, which I hate doing, but dispatch screwed up the paperwork. By the time I hit the Louisiana border, it was almost 9:30 p.m., and my fuel light had been on for longer than I liked. That stretch of Route 79 is dark. No rest stops. No real towns. Just two-lane blacktop, thick woods, and the kind of silence that feels heavier than sound. I was scanning for signs when a little green dot popped up on my GPS, a fuel symbol, not branded, just labeled, Huck Stop. No price listed. That should have been my first red flag. But I was tired. I needed fuel. I turned off onto a narrow access road that looked like it hadn't been paved since the '90s. The station was about a mile in. Tiny place. One pump. No lights on the canopy. The kind of spot that feels like it never officially opened or closed. Just exists. A flickering, open, sign buzzed weakly in a grimy window. There was a hand-painted banner out front, ICE, soda, diesel. I eased my rig into position and stepped out. The moment my boots hit the pavement, I felt it, that stillness. Like the trees were holding their breath. The air smelled off. Like mildew, motor oil, and something sharper, ammonia maybe. Rain had fallen earlier. The ground squelched under my steps. I scanned the lot. No other cars, just an old blue Silverado with rust creeping up the wheel wells and a sagging back bumper. I didn't see anyone. I swiped my card. The pump made a loud click, then stopped at 9.4 gallons. That's it. No error, no decline. Just stopped. I looked up from the nozzle. There were 4 white men standing at different corners of the lot. I hadn't heard them arrive. 2 by the ice machine, 1 near the dumpster, 1 just leaning against the Silverado. None of them moved. None of them spoke. Just stared. I gave a quick nod, polite, measured, careful. No one nodded back. I walked toward the store entrance. As I passed the Silverado, I noticed a bumper sticker, "We don't dial 911. There was a shotgun rack mounted in the back window. Empty, but still. The store's glass door groaned as I opened it. Inside, the lighting was bad, a yellow overhead bulb and the faint blue glow of a refrigerator case humming like it had bees trapped in it. The place smelled like cigarettes and cedar. The guy behind the counter looked like he came with the building. White, maybe 60s, deep lines in his face, dirty flannel, a name tag that just said, Tuck. He didn't speak. Didn't even shift his weight. Just stood behind the register like a mannequin. I asked, "Pump working all right?" Nothing. I asked again. Still nothing. But he reached under the counter and pressed something, a switch, maybe. I didn't hear a bell or buzz, but something in the atmosphere changed. Like, a cue had been given. The door behind me creaked again. I turned slowly. The man from the Silverado was inside now. He was holding a can of chewing tobacco, but he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at me. That same empty smile. No recognition. No friendliness. Just teeth. "You headed somewhere tonight?" he asked. His voice was molasses thick. Southern. Deliberate. I nodded slowly. "Just passing through," I said, keeping my voice low and even. He chuckled once. Dry. Empty. Ain't nobody just passin' through Huxley. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator case behind me and the faint drip of rain off the awning outside. No music. No TV. Just the sound of us breathing. I stepped sideways, putting a little distance between me and the man. Tuck, the clerk, still hadn't moved. His eyes hadn't left mine since I walked in. It was like he was watching a deer try to back out of a snare. The door opened again. Another man entered, the one who'd been by the dumpster. He held nothing in his hands, but his knuckles were scraped and raw like he'd punched gravel. He took a position by the candy rack, arms crossed. I said, "Look, I just need to get the pump reset. I'll be out of here in 2 minutes." Tuck didn't move. But the man beside me did. "Truck out there's yours?" he asked. I nodded. "What's in it?" I smiled just a little, fake casual. "Air conditioners." He didn't laugh. Just tilted his head like he didn't believe me. Or didn't care. "I'll get back to it," I said. I stepped toward the door. "You're not from here, are you?" he asked, like it was a test. "Nope," I said, not stopping. "And I don't plan to be." I pushed the door open. The outside air felt cold and wrong, even though it was barely October. The Silverado was gone now. I hadn't heard it start. I hadn't seen it move. Just gone. But something else was waiting. I walked toward my rig and saw movement under the trailer. I froze. Someone was crouched near the axles. He stood slowly. A teenager, maybe. Skinny, pale, hoodie drawn up tight. He didn't say a word, just stared, then turned and walked into the woods behind the station. I climbed into the cab and locked the doors. The keys were still in the ignition. I turned them. Nothing. The lights flickered once, a weak glow on the dash, then went dark. I tried again. And again. Still nothing. I looked up and saw 3 of the men from before standing in the lot now, spread out. Watching. No one approached. No one moved. They just stood there. Like fence posts. Like they'd been planted. That's when I noticed my side mirror had been tilted down, not shattered, just turned. The only way that could have happened was if someone had climbed the side steps. And I always check those mirrors. Always. I pulled out my phone. No signal. Of course. I closed my eyes and took a long breath. Then I remembered something I hadn't thought about in years. My old seer used to say, if a place makes you feel like prey, don't wait to be eaten. So I moved. Out of the cab. Toolbox in hand. I popped the side panel and rerouted the starter manually, a little army trick I'd learned in Alabama. I heard the click. The engine whined. Once. Twice. Then, roar. She was alive. I didn't even shut the panel. Just slammed the door, threw it in gear, and pulled out fast. The wheels screeched on wet pavement. I saw one of the men take a step forward, but none of them chased me. They just watched me go. I didn't stop until I hit a truck stop on the edge of Shreveport. I parked under the brightest lights I could find, got inside, and sat in the diner for hours, shaking, but trying not to show it. Later, when I stepped out to check the trailer, I saw something etched into the dirt on the rear door. Not written with a finger, scratched in with something sharp. 3 words. Not around here. I didn't think much when my white co-driver offered to switch routes last minute. But when he didn't show up at the delivery dock, I knew something wasn't right. My name's Marlon Dorsey. 38, I've been long-hauling with West Run Freight for 9 years now, clean record, never missed a drop time, never had a logbook violation. That kind of consistency earns you quiet respect in the trucking world. And jealousy. I was paired on a team route last spring with a guy named Chad Wilkins. Younger, maybe 30, military haircut, country playlist always too loud. We weren't friends, but we made the miles work. He used to joke about how I was too polished for a road dog, how I kept my rig clean, wore gloves, ironed my shirts, didn't curse. I laughed it off at first. But after 3 weeks on the road, I started noticing the tone under his laughter. He'd say things like, "Man, dispatch loves you," or, "If I had your voice, I'd get out of every way station fine." Comments that sat too long in your ears after they were said. The trouble started in Memphis. We had just finished a 3-leg haul from LA, and our next run was a long haul up through Missouri, cutting through rural Illinois, mostly farmland, 2-lane highways, old gas stops. I'd driven it before. Never liked it. Something about the silence out there felt personal. Dispatch had assigned me the first shift. We'd alternate every 8 hours, sleep in the bunk, rotate. But when I got out of the shower that morning at the rest center, Chad was already dressed, keys in hand, sipping a Red Bull. He grinned. "Hey, I'm feelin' fresh. You cool if I take the first leg today? You can catch some ZS." It was off script, but I didn't push back. Figured maybe he wanted to clear his head. He climbed into the cab, slid into the driver's seat, and was gone in under 5. I laid in the sleeper for a bit, listening to the radio fade into highway static. Fell asleep maybe 20 minutes later. I woke up to silence. No engine hum. No road vibration. No movement. I checked the clock. I'd been out for almost 3 hours. I unzipped the curtain and sat up. The truck was parked on the side of a narrow 2-lane road. Not a rest stop. No gas station. Just shoulder and trees. It was raining, that soft southern drizzle that feels like mist. Chad wasn't in the cab. Keys were gone. His duffel was still on the floor, but his wallet, always clipped to the dash, was missing. I stepped out. Mud squelched under my boots. I looked both directions. Nothing but cornfields and a sagging wire fence. No signs. No road markings. No cell signal. I stood there for a minute, turning in a slow circle, waiting for something to move. That's when I noticed the writing on the side of the trailer. Someone had traced a word through the thin layer of grime on the white aluminum. Perfect. The letters were long. Shaky. Like written with a bare finger. I walked around the truck. Cab was locked. Windows rolled up. No damage. Nothing missing. Except Chad. The rain started picking up. I got back in and sat in the driver's seat, trying to breathe slow. My phone still had no signal, but the GPS lit up. It said I was somewhere near Morgan County, tiny, rural, almost Amish in places. I flipped the ignition. Truck came to life. Systems normal. I thought maybe, he just stopped to piss and got turned around in the rain. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. He wasn't lost. He'd left. And the message on the trailer? That was meant for me. I sat behind the wheel for a long time, watching the rain blur the windshield. My hand hovered over the gearshift. Something in my gut told me not to drive just yet, like the road itself didn't want me to move forward. Eventually, I put her in drive and rolled slowly down the shoulder until I found a gravel turnoff half hidden behind some overgrown trees. I parked there and waited. Waited for headlights. For footsteps. For anything. But nothing came. After an hour, the storm passed. My phone finally caught a sliver of signal, just enough to ping dispatch. I called. "Where's Chad?" I asked, keeping my voice level. There was a pause on the other end. Then, you're driving solo today. Marlon. That's all they said. No further explanation. No concern. No reroute. Just, solo. I tried calling Chad. Straight to voicemail. I checked his social, inactive. Then I did something I never thought I'd have to do, I called his wife. We'd never spoken before. Her voice was hoarse, tired, like she'd been crying. He told me he couldn't take it anymore, she said. Said he was done being second to some polished, show pony. I didn't say anything. He said you always made him feel like trash. That you were their favorite. That they were just using him to support you. I whispered, I never asked for that. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, he left me a message. He said, you'd understand what he did. Said it'd balance things out. And she hung up. That night, I checked the truck again. In the overhead glove box, the one only we two had access to, I found a note. Folded paper. No envelope. Just 4 words. Enjoy their silence now. I didn't sleep. I drove through the night, stopping only once to throw up behind a rest area dumpster outside Springfield. By the time I hit the company yard the next day, the note was gone. Literally. The glove box was empty. I asked dispatch again. They said Chad had put in a verbal resignation. Said he called in from a burner number and quit. No forwarding address. No check-in. But something about the look the manager gave me, it told me more. Like they knew what really happened but weren't touching it. 2 weeks later, I got my next assignment. Solo, as promised. Same route. Same direction. Same road. When I reached that gravel shoulder again, I pulled over. Parked. And waited. Nothing happened. But when I stepped out to stretch my legs, I walked around the trailer out of habit. Someone had written on the panel again. Not perfect this time. 3 new words. Still just you. At first, I thought it was just another truck behind me. Then I realized, they were matching my every move. Name's Isaiah Brandt. 42, I've been trucking long enough to know when something's not right on the road. You learn it by instinct, the way an animal knows when it's being hunted. It starts in the stomach. A twitch. A shift. And once that feeling sets in, it never leaves. This story happened 3 months ago, mid-May. I was hauling a refrigerated load from Tulsa, Oklahoma, to a distribution center outside Little Rock. Standard route. I've driven it 100 times. Mostly flat highways, fields, patches of pine forest, small towns with gas stations that close by 9 p.m. sharp. It was a Tuesday. Around 10:40 p.m., I passed through a town called Perry. Tiny place, population couldn't be more than 800. I'd filled up earlier, so I didn't stop. Just cruised past the blinking red light at the only intersection and kept rolling down Highway 10 East. That's when I noticed the truck behind me. White Dodge Ram. Lifted suspension. LED bar up top. At first, I thought nothing of it. Lots of pickups around these parts. But it was close. Too close. Closer than any driver should be behind a 53-foot trailer in the dark. I changed lanes, gently. The Ram followed. I dropped 2 miles per hour. It stayed exactly in step. Still, I didn't panic. Maybe they were distracted. Maybe they'd pass. They didn't. 10 minutes later, I pulled off onto a way station access road, just to see. The Ram didn't follow. I exhaled. Maybe it was nothing. Just a late-night driver on edge like me. I waited 3 minutes, then pulled back onto the highway. 10 miles later, it was behind me again. Same truck. Same headlights. Same tight following distance. That's when I checked my mirrors and saw something that twisted my gut. There were 2 more vehicles now, a second truck and an SUV. No headlights. Just silhouettes, trailing in the darkness, keeping their distance but never disappearing. That's when I knew. This wasn't random. I adjusted my seat and tightened my grip on the wheel. They were following me. Not speeding. Not weaving. Just watching. Waiting. I flipped my CB on and tried channel 19. Anyone out there near mile 224 eastbound? I asked. No answer. I tried again. Got 3 vehicles trailing me. White Dodge Ram, maybe a Chevy Tahoe, dark-colored pickup. No lights. Staying back but tight. Silence. That was the loneliest moment of the whole ride. You don't realize how much you count on someone else being out there, another voice in the dark, until the line stays empty. I passed a green sign, next exit, Eagleville 4 miles. I'd never been to Eagleville, but I figured it was better than staying on open road. Maybe a gas station. A sheriff. Anything. I signaled and took the exit. The Ram followed. So did the others. That's when my trailer light started flickering. Not a mechanical issue. I'd checked everything at the depot. This was something else. Like someone was testing me. I rolled through the empty streets of Eagleville. No lights. No movement. Just shadowy homes and porches that looked like they'd been unoccupied for years. I saw a gas station, closed sign swinging under the awning. Lights off. Pump handles tied down with wire. I slowed to a crawl. The Ram pulled up behind me and parked in the middle of the intersection. Didn't move. Just idled, blocking the way back to the highway. My hands started sweating. That's when I saw movement in the side mirror. One of them was approaching. I didn't breathe. Just watched the side mirror as a figure stepped into the edge of the headlights, tall, lean, maybe mid-30s, wearing a camo jacket and jeans. Hands in his pockets. He wasn't rushing. No urgency. Just calm, deliberate steps like he knew I wouldn't run. I rolled up the window. Locked both doors. Reached for the metal bar I keep behind the seat. Not a weapon, just a breaker bar. But solid. He stopped 6 feet from the cab. Tilted his head. Looked right at me. Then, smiled. That's what made it worse. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even pretending to be normal. That grin, it said he was enjoying the game. I reached for the gear shift. But before I could move, 2 more men appeared behind the trailer. One from each side. Moving like they'd rehearsed it. That's when I floored it. The truck surged forward, tires shrieking on the wet concrete. I didn't care if I clipped the corner of the closed gas station, I just needed distance. I turned hard onto a side street. Saw the Ram whip around behind me, followed by the SUV. My trailer fishtailed. I straightened out. No time to think. No time to check mirrors. Just drive. The town was barely lit, but I spotted a narrow gravel road splitting off to the right. Took it. Fast. Branches scraped the trailer. Trees crowded in. The road curved, then dropped slightly. My GPS went dark. No signal. Perfect. I killed the headlights. Slowed to a crawl. Then stopped. I turned off the engine and sat in the pitch black, heart hammering in my ears. 10 seconds passed. 20. Then, headlights. The Ram. It stopped at the start of the gravel road. Engine idling. Then it reversed. Slowly. I waited another minute, then quietly fired the engine back up and crept forward until I reached a gate, rusted, chained, barely standing. I didn't care. I backed up, spun the rig around in a tight three-point turn, and rolled back toward town with the lights still off. Nothing in sight. No ram. No SUV. Just rain and dark road. When I hit the highway again, I didn't look back. I drove 6 hours straight, didn't stop for food or fuel. Only pulled over when I saw the sun coming up outside Jackson. I parked under a cluster of floodlights at a busy 24-hour truck stop and finally exhaled. When I climbed out to check the trailer, I saw it. Etched into the grime on the back panel, with something sharp. "We see you." I left it there for a week. Didn't wash the truck. Didn't talk about it to anyone, not dispatch, not the cops, not other drivers. Because the scariest part wasn't that they followed me. It was that they knew exactly when to stop. He seemed friendly enough, stranded on the roadside. But the moment the doors locked, something changed in his eyes. "My name's Reggie Cole. 46 years old, been driving long haul since I left the army in '03. Never had a serious incident. I follow the rules, keep my rig clean, don't mess with anyone. When you're a black man driving across rural America with out-of-state plates, you learn quick, invisibility is safety. This happened last fall, out near western Kansas. I was hauling aluminum beams from Denver to Topeka. Long, empty stretch of highway. Just flat earth and sky, with gas stations sometimes 50 miles apart. It was just after sunset when I saw him. A lone figure walking along the shoulder. Slim white guy, probably in his late 30s. Dressed in jeans, torn hoodie, duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Thumb out. Normally I don't stop. Especially not at dusk, and especially not out here. But something about the way he was walking, limping slightly, almost dragging his left foot, made me pause. I pulled over 100 yards ahead and left my hazards flashing. He jogged up to the cab, winded. "Appreciate it, brother," he said with a crooked smile. "Been out here 3 damn hours." His voice was scratchy, southern, maybe Tennessee or Arkansas. He tossed his bag in the sleeper and climbed into the passenger seat like he'd done it 1,000 times before. I asked where he was headed. "East," he said, shrugging. "Far as you'll take me." That should have been the first sign. We rode in silence for about 10 minutes, just the hum of the road and light rain tapping the windshield. He kept glancing at the radio, but I hadn't turned it on. I don't play music when I'm trying to stay alert. Eventually he broke the silence. "You military?" I nodded. "Served. Logistics." He grinned. "Knew it. Clean posture, sharp edge. Most fellas don't keep their cab this spotless." Then he added, "White glove treatment, huh?" The way he said it made me glance at him. But he was staring out the window now. Another 5 minutes passed. He started humming a tune, slow, tuneless, repetitive. It set my teeth on edge. Then he asked, "Ever pick up anyone else before? Like me?" I said no. He nodded slowly. Probably smart. Something was off in his tone. Not nervous. Not threatening. Just off. "You think people like me and you are the same?" he asked next. No smile now. Just looking dead ahead. I didn't answer right away. Just kept my eyes on the road. I've been through enough to know when a man's trying to pick a fight he doesn't have the guts to start himself. He continued. "My daddy used to say, if you see a man too clean on the outside, it's because he's dirty underneath. Ever heard that?" Still, I said nothing. He shifted in the seat. "You ever wonder why folks like you are always trying so hard to be perfect? Like you're trying to prove something." My knuckles tightened around the wheel. Then, almost whispering, he said, "Makes me sick, honestly. Pretending like you're better. Cleaner. Sharper. Like we don't see the game you're playing." He turned to face me now. "But I see it, Reggie." I never told him my name. The moment he said my name, I felt my stomach turn cold. I glanced at the glove box. My manifest was in there, along with my ID. He must have gone through it when I stepped out to fuel up. Or maybe he already knew me. I didn't respond. Just flicked my eyes to the shoulder, scanning for the next pull-off. "You know," he said, leaning back with that same lazy drawl, "I watched you roll past me the first time. Slowed down, then kept going. Thought you were gonna leave me there." He chuckled to himself. "But then you came back. That part surprised me." He turned toward me again, his voice dropping low. "You ever think maybe I got in this truck for a reason?" That's when I knew I couldn't wait for a safe pull-off. I needed him out. I said, "This is as far as I go tonight. You'll have to find another ride." "Ah," he said, mock hurt. "After all we've shared?" I signaled to the right and started slowing down near an abandoned way station. Rusted out shed, no lights, weeds growing up through the cracks. I put it in neutral, hit the brake. "Out," I said. Calm. Firm. He didn't move. Just stared at the windshield. Then he said it. "My brother died in a wreck with a driver like you. Black guy. Fell asleep at the wheel, took them both out. You believe in justice, Reggie?" I said nothing. He opened the passenger door slowly, but didn't get out. He leaned in close instead, close enough for me to smell the stale tobacco on his breath. "You know what the problem is?" he said. "You all think keeping your boots shined and your shirts tucked in makes you safe. Makes you different. But I see you." Then he smiled again, not friendly, not sane. Just hollow. He stepped down and slammed the door. I waited. Watched him disappear into the brush. Didn't drive off right away. My hands were frozen on the wheel. Engine idling. When I finally pulled back onto the road, I kept checking the mirrors every few minutes, like he might still be there. Running behind me. Hiding under the trailer. A week later, I saw a story on a local trucker forum. Another driver reported picking up a white hitchhiker outside Hays, Kansas. Same build. Same jacket. Said he started preaching about balance and payback. Said the guy smiled the whole ride, then vanished at a gas station bathroom, left behind a napkin with just one word written in red ink. Reggie. They didn't pull me over for speeding. And when I handed over my license, they didn't even look at it. I've been pulled over a lot in my life. Comes with the territory, black man, driving long haul, mostly through towns that never see more than 3 of us a week. You get used to it. At least, you learn how to act like you are. But that night in Arkansas, that was different. My name's Curtis Miles. I'm 51. Been driving since I was 24, and I've got a perfect safety record. Never missed a log. Never failed a way station check. I don't drink, I don't curse on the CB, and I don't drive tired. It was a Thursday, just after midnight, somewhere outside of Stuttgart, flat farmland all around, no lights except the glow from my dashboard and the moon overhead. I was headed east with a load of HVAC units, trying to make it to a 5 a.m. dock time in Memphis. That stretch of Highway 79 is narrow, 2 lanes, no shoulder in places. I was cruising easy, 59 in a 65, windows cracked, listening to a podcast about jazz history. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then I saw the headlights. Bright, low, and far too close behind me. I glanced in the mirror. Unmarked black SUV. No grille lights. No spotlight. No sirens. I tapped the brake a little, just enough to flash the rear lights. The SUV didn't back off. Then the red and blues lit up. No siren, just the lights. Quiet. Like they didn't want to draw attention. I pulled over onto a gravel patch near a silo access road. Put it in park, hazards on, interior light switched up. Hands on the wheel. I've done this dance. 2 white officers got out. Tall. Same haircut. Same stiff posture. No names visible. They didn't approach right away. Just stood there in their vests, talking behind the SUV headlights. One of them radioed something in. I couldn't hear it, but I could feel it, that pause. Finally, they walked up to both sides of the cab. One went to the passenger door. The other came to me. He didn't ask for my license. He just stood there, staring. So I broke the silence. "Evening, officer. Is there a problem?" He said, "Mind stepping out of the vehicle for a moment, sir?" I blinked. "Is something wrong?" "Just step out, please. Now, I know my rights. But I also know how quickly things can go sideways." So I unbuckled, slowly, and stepped down from the cab with my palms visible. The second officer was already circling to the back of the trailer. I said, "This is a sealed load. Bills are in the side compartment." The first cop ignored that. He asked, "Where are you headed?" "Memphis." "Where from?" "Littleton, Colorado." Depot check-in was clean. "Papers are in order." He looked at me. "Not my license. Not my logbook. Not my face, really. Just, through me." Then he said, "You hauling solo tonight?" "Always do," I replied. He turned to the second officer, who nodded silently. Then he stepped closer, almost too close, and asked, "Anyone else in the cab?" That's when my heart started racing. I said, "No, sir." "You're welcome to check the sleeper." He didn't move. Then he said something I'll never forget. "We had a tip." I blinked. A tip? A description. Male. Black. 40s to 50s. Driving a red Freightliner. Possible movement of materials. That was nonsense. I'd seen no bolos. No alerts. And my truck, it's burgundy, not red. There's a difference. He looked at me like he was waiting for something. Like I was supposed to blink wrong. "You mind if we search the vehicle?" he asked. That's when I saw it. The second officer was already opening the trailer latch. My heart skipped. "You can't open that trailer," I said, stepping toward him. "It's sealed freight. If you break that lock, I lose the chain of custody, the whole load is voided." Neither of them flinched. The second cop, short guy, wiry, maybe late 30s, had already popped the latch. The seal clattered to the ground. I moved fast, but the first one stepped in front of me and placed his hand on his holster. Not drawing, not threatening. Just, placing. "You want to interfere with a lawful search?" he asked. "It's not lawful without probable cause or a warrant. We have a tip." That's all they kept saying. No names. No badge numbers. No patrol car markings. No reason. I stood there and watched as the second one climbed halfway into the trailer. His flashlight cut across the beams and shrink-wrapped coils. No humans. No drugs. Just aluminum. He stayed in there longer than necessary. Moving slow. Like he wasn't searching for anything at all, like he just wanted me to know they could. Finally, he stepped down and said, "Nothing obvious." The first one gave me a once-over, then handed back the papers I hadn't seen him take. "You can go," he said. I stared at him. What about the seal? My dispatch needs confirmation before I roll. He said nothing. Just turned and walked back to the SUV. The second guy followed. They didn't log anything. Didn't radio in. Just killed the lights and pulled away like they'd never been there. I stood there under the moonlight for 5 full minutes. Engine off. Heart pounding. Eventually I called dispatch, told them the seal had been cut and inspected by law enforcement. They told me to document it and get moving. Said they'd flag it in the log. When I asked if they'd heard anything about a tip or a profile match, they went quiet. Curtis, my dispatcher, finally said, "We didn't report anything. And no one's flagged your route." I didn't sleep the next day. Couldn't. I kept thinking about how they didn't check the manifest, didn't ask what I was carrying, didn't look at my face when I spoke. They weren't searching for anything in the trailer. They were watching how I reacted. I drove that route twice more in the months after. Same stretch of road. Same time of night. Never saw another car. But sometimes, when I stop for fuel, I still check the trailer seal twice. And when I close the cab door at night, I lock it, just in case they come back. Not to inspect. Not to arrest. Just to remind me that I was seen. Thanks so much for watching. Your support truly means the world to me. Every like, every comment helps this channel grow and keeps me going. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new upload. My dream right now is to reach 100 subscribers, and with your help, I know it's possible. See you in the next one.